In today's video, we will be discussing the Concord Data Merge feature. This feature allows you to take data or information from a file and print it on the form. This is variable information that will customize each form as it's being printed. That is the purpose of the Data Merge feature. And this is the form that we're going to start with. This is part of a form that you will find in the sample files. If you go to File and Open in Concord and find the FSL subfolder, it's under the Concord, under Program Files, under Concord, or under Data Blocks, under Concord 7.0, you will find this list of sample files, and the one that this is taken from is this faculty eval, and we have an example of it for comma delimited, fixed length fields, and tab delimited data files. And those are things that we need to understand before we get started. I'm going to cancel here, and we're going to go look at these kinds of data files. Okay, this is a faculty evaluation data file. It has 2 lines or data records in it, and it represents a course evaluation or a course, a listing of courses. There's only 2 here for our illustration, but what you can see here is that each of the fields of information is separated by a comma. So we have the course number here, we have a secondary number here, a short description of the course, a long description of the course, the instructor's first name, instructor's last name, and then the, I'm sorry, this was the department, and then this is the, this is the course, and that was the department, and then some other information about when the class is and those kinds of things. So once again, this is information that we're going to put on the form, and as we print each form, it will take one data record and print one form. So if I was using this data file, I would get 2 forms, one for American history, one for constitutional law. Now once again, this is a comma delimited file. You can see the commas here. If I go to a tab delimited file, a tab character you can't see on the screen, but it's here. You can see that there's extra spaces here. If I put my cursor here and hit my right arrow key, it'll move to the next field. That means that there's a tab in there. Okay, so instead of commas delimiting or dividing the fields, there are tabs there. And it's exactly the same information. It's just a slightly different kind of data file. And then the third one that we have is the fixed length field. And here, each field has exactly the same number of characters. And when there aren't enough characters to fill the field, then it's filled with spaces. So here, we still have the 6-character course evaluation. We then have the 4-digit number, a secondary number. Then we have the short description of the course. But in this area, the course must have a possibility of being 10 digits because we have 5 blank spaces here. But you can see at the end of American history, it's padded with spaces so that we get to the next name and so forth. So this is a fixed length type of file. And which one you will select will depend on where your data comes from. And they usually come from databases like a database of course listings in your school or university, or a listing of instructors, or a listing of students. So they usually come out of a database of some form. But we're going to concentrate on this one here, the comma delimited, and we're only going to define a few of these fields. In the example files, you'll find most, if not all, of these fields defined, but we're only going to define a few. In any data record, you do not need to use all the fields in the data record. You can pick and choose. And you can also use the same field twice, which you're going to see. We're actually going to use this course number 3 different times for our illustration here. So let's go back down to our Concord software. So what we're going to create is a data merge field for the course number. That's what CRN stands for. One for the subject, one for the title, and then the course number. We're also going to show you how to fill out this 0 through 9 grid. the software can not only just print information, but it can fill out bubble grids. And then down here, we're going to show you how to do a printing of the course number as a barcode, which is really very easy to do. So let's start by creating our course number. And the way you create a new printing type field, we call that a preprint field, is you just create a field, a text field with the number of characters you need. So here I'm going to click on my text field. I'm going to set this to the font to Arial, set this to be quite a bit smaller here. And so here, this is the way you set up a normal field, and you can set up, you can change all of the characteristics of the field, whether it's bold, italic, the point size, the font size, the color up here. And then you go and put it on the form. Now here, we already have 6 dollar signs. It doesn't really matter what character you put in here. I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to show you that we've got 6 characters. And then I'm going to come down here and left click and drag and draw this field just like I would a regular text field. Okay, so it puts it on the form like that. And it then pops up the field properties. And these are the same properties. If I slide this down a little, these are the same properties that are up here on the object bar. So this just gives you the ability to change all of the properties of the field that will be printed out. But then you'll notice up here that there's another tab called Data Merge. I didn't change anything here, but I could have if I wanted to. But we're going to click on this Data Merge tab, and then we're going to click on Set this field up as a Data Merge field. Now, the first thing you'll notice over here in the data file type is that nothing is selected here. So we have to select something here. And once we do this, the data file type will remain the same for all of the fields that we set up, because that's a requirement. You can't have some fields as comma delimited and some as tab delimited in the same file. That doesn't work. So we're going to just check on comma delimited here. And then down here, we have, the software knew it was a preprint field. There are a number of different field types. We're going to be talking about preprint, pre-slug, and print and slug. These other fields aren't used very much anymore, and they're an advanced feature not covered in this video. So because we set this field up as a print field or a text field as opposed to a response or bubble field, then the software knows it's preprint. The field number it picks up, it usually starts with 1. Because I've been opening several files here to set this up, it's starting at 115. What it's asking for here is the field number in the data file, and it's just the physical field number. And so if we go back over here and look, our course number is in the first position, and that's all we're looking for. It's in the first position. This number is in the second position, the short description is in the third position, and the long description is in the fourth position. That's all it's asking for here. So we're going to change this field number to 1. I'm going to select it and press the 1 key. Then the maximum data length. This can be larger than the field, but it shouldn't really be smaller than the field. So if you've got a title that's 30 characters long, you shouldn't make this 25 unless you're trying to fit it into a smaller space and you don't mind the description getting cut off in some cases. But our space is, our number of data characters is exactly 6 here, and so that's all we have to put. So this is all that we've, all of these other fields aren't really important. They're for very little used features. They are advanced features, and they're not covered in this video. This is generally the only thing you'll have to do is these features up here. And so when I click OK, we'll see what happens to the screen. Notice that it changed the characters, and you can see that up here to dollar signs. It took out those numbers. The reason is the software is trying to show you a representation of how long the field could be. These fonts have variable width characters. In other words, a 1 is not as wide as a 6. So this is a maximum width so that you don't run into the next area. So that's all it's showing you here. The field has turned yellow. That is a visual indicator on the screen. It will not print. And the purpose of it is to show you that there are data merge fields on the form when you open it. The reason for that is that you will be asked, if you go to print this form, several extra questions, and if you didn't realize there were data merge fields on the form, then you might not understand why you're being asked those questions. So it's just a visual indicator. Okay, so that is our first field, and it is a course number. Now what I'm going to do, we want to put the course number down here as well, and we want it to be a barcode. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to make a copy of this field. One of the features of the Concord software is that you can make a copy of anything by putting your cursor over that area, holding down the control key, left click on the left mouse button, and then drag to somewhere else on the screen, and it will make an exact copy of that field. Okay, so now that we have this copy, we can change it, and we're going to do that by going up to the properties, and here instead of the font being Arial, the way to change it to a barcode is very simple. You simply change the font. And we do have, the software comes with the 3 of 9 barcode, so we're going to change it to that. And when you're scanning barcodes, this field can be scanned by the Remark Office software. So you really should make your point size at least 24 for a barcode so that the software can read it easily. But notice that I'm going to click on the Data Merge tab again. Notice that it's all set up because it was a copy of the previous field. The field number is correct, the maximum data length is correct, and it's set up as a comma delimited field. So I'm going to click OK. And so all we did was create a 6-character barcode field that will print the same number in barcode as it prints up here. So that's pretty easy. So let's go on to do just a couple more fields. We'll do this bubble field last with the course number, but let's print the subject. Let's go look at the subject first and see that the subject is actually political science. So the political science area, because the title of our course is This is American History here in Constitutional Law, our subject is political science, and it is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th field in our data record. So having that information ahead of time helps us. We're going to go back here. We're going to once again click on our tools up here, our text tool. So we're just going to create another text field, and you can either add the number of characters you want here, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, or you can add it later. It doesn't really matter. We'll get 10 out here because I think that's about the maximum for that field. And then we're just going to draw it here once again. Only we've got to change some things. We have to change it. By the way, the software uses the properties from the previous field that you created. That's why it selected 3 of 9 barcode, but we're going to change that back to Arial. And select that, change it back to 10. I'm sorry, to 12. And then we're going to go to Data Merge, and because we created a new field, it doesn't have this information set up, but we're going to set it up as a Data Merge field. It automatically picks up the fact that it's a comma delimited file. We counted our field number up to be 7, and our maximum data length is 10. So, and let me recount that. I think it was 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's correct. So, and then our maximum data length was 10. So when I click OK, it sets us up a field that's 10 characters long, and is that with that font. So let's do the last field. Same sort of thing. We're going to go over here and check the number of our description. Our title here is right here, and it's in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th position. So we're going to use that information here. Once again, go to Tools and Text. I'm not going to draw the number of characters here. It's just to show you a different way to do it. And we'll let this go. And here we're going to keep it the same, Arial, 12, everything else is the same, only when we go to Data Merge, we're going to set it up, picked up that's a comma delimited, it's field number 8, so that's what it's showing. We're going to change that to 4, and we're going to tell it the maximum length here is 30. Okay, so when I click OK this time, the software will automatically put in those 30 characters for me. So you don't have to put anything when you're creating the text field, because however long you tell it the field is on the data merge tab is how many $signs you'll get. So those are our 3 sample fields, and you can see that they're not in the exact order that they are in the form or anything like that. In the data record. The software can just pick and choose depending on what information you give it. So the last thing we want to add here is we want it to fill in this field as a bubble field. And I'm going to click on this bubble field. We created this field using tools and predefined fields. We just told it was 0 through 9 grid, told it was only 6, and then put in course number for our heading. That's how we created this field. But now I've selected it. I'm going to go to the link properties, and the link properties also bring up once again that data merge tab. So when I click here, I can set this field up as a data merge tab. Notice it still picked it up as a comma delimited, but one thing is different, and that is the merge field type. Because this is a response or bubble field, software knows that it's going to be what's known as pre-slugging. In other words, it's going to be filling in the correct number of the bubble. Well, there's something else that we can do. We can even change it to print and slug, and what it'll do is not only fill in the correct bubble, but it'll write the character in this little box up here, and that's what we want to do. But our field number is off a little bit because we've set up some other fields. We're going to go back to 1 because our field number, this is the course number, the same number we're using here and down here in our barcode field. So we're going to change that back to 1 and click OK. And this is now set up as a data merge pre-slug print and slug field. Notice that it finally turned orange after a minute. It finally turned yellow, just to show you once again that this is set up as a data merge field. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Click on my save form, and then there's a way that you can look at ahead of time whether you've done all your setting up correctly. Let me move this down just a hair. No, that's good. It actually is better there. Okay, so there's a way that you can test to see if everything's going to work correctly, and you can do that by going to File and Print Preview. Now you're going to get a new question, one that you've never been asked before if you use Print Preview, and that is open the data file to be merged. So I'm going to go find our data file where I have it stored. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Here it is, FSL. And I wanted to use this faculty evaluation comma delimited file as my example. And what it's going to do is open this file, take out the first data record, and it's going to show us on the screen what we have created. And here it is. So it opened that file, the one we've been looking at. And let's look at that. You can see it right here, that it has opened the file. It put the course number of 999 in. It filled it in again here and filled out the bubbles this time. It slugged in the bubbles. And down here is a little hard to see, but this is a barcode of the same number. And then it picked up our subject, political science, here from this field. And then it picked up our American history title. So that's how you can check to make sure that you've put in the correct field numbers and links for all of these, for this information. Now you can also go to look. What we're going to do next is actually go to a print. I'm going to close this here, and if we go to print, we can actually print to a PDF, and then we can go look at it. Now this is asking you, do you want to print a sample of the form? This is a new question that comes up when you have data merge fields. All it's asking for is, do you want to print out a copy just to look at it? It'll have the $ signs on it, And it's just so that you can look at it, because otherwise it's going to ask you a bunch of other questions. So we're going to say no here. We don't want to print a sample. It's going to ask what printer we're looking for. And instead of selecting my LaserJet, I'm going to go down here and select a PDF writer. And we're going to write this to a PDF file so we can look at it. We'll click OK here. Once again, now it's asking me that same question I was asked with the print preview. Open the data file to be merged, and I'm going to select the same data file again. When I click open, it'll ask, do I want to begin with the first record in the data file? Excuse me. This gives you the ability to search down the file for a specific data record, but I'm going to say go ahead and begin with the first data record. And now it's gone out there and it's doing some work, and now it's going to ask me where this is since I'm printing to a PDF, where's the PDF and where do I want to put it? So I'm going to select this AAA folder here. It's going to create this PDF file, Concord Data Merge Example for Video, and I'm going to click Save there, and it should have gone and created my file for me. So I'm going to let's go look for that file. I'm using Windows Explorer here, and I'm going to click on that AAA folder, and I should have a PDF that says, where did it go? Here we are, Concord Data Merge Example for Video created today. When I double click on that, it shows you this is the same thing that we saw with the print preview for the first form. So it took the first data record from our file and printed one form, and then it took the second record, and this is the constitutional law record, and it printed us a form for that. So once again, what happens with your data file is you get one form for every record in your data file. Okay, now there is something you can do, an extra feature, and that really is the whole, most of the data merge feature explained. That's how easy it is to set up data merge fields. Now there's one more very important feature, and I'm going to modify, well, I don't have to modify our form, it already has them here. Actually, I am going to modify these numbers and save it under another name. You can tell the software how many of each form you want it to print. So if you have the number of people in the class, I'm going to make this a bit smaller so you can see it. I'm going to delete the 45 and make it 5, and I'm going to delete the 32 and make it 3. So we'll assume this is the number of people in each of these classes, and I want one of these forms for each person in the class. This might be a class evaluation. So I'm going to save this under a slightly different name so I don't change my original file. I'm going to do a file save as, and we'll make this the for video .text file. By the way, the program we're looking at here, we're looking at this file in, is Notepad. It is one of the accessories that comes with every version of Windows. It's just a very basic text editor. Okay, so we've changed. So what we should get now when we go to print this form is we should get, after we set up this field, we haven't done that yet, we'll get 5 for this data record and 3 for this data record. But let's go ahead and set that up. We need to know, once again, as we always do, what's the number, the physical number of the field. So I'm going to start again at the beginning. Actually, I can start at poli-sci because I know that's the 7th field. I can go 8th field here, 9th field here, 10th field here, 11th field, 12th field, 13th. It's the 14th field. I need to know that. And the way you change that is you go to File. The way you set that up is you go to File and Number of Copies field. And you tell it that number. That number is 14. And because you don't need a data length because it's a comma delimited file, so the data length feature is grayed out. So all I really had to tell it was the number 14. And that field is set up. Nothing changes on your form. But just so you know, I'm going to click on this field. We'll go back to the properties and go to the data merge. You can also set that field up right here on each and every. This does not apply to each field. It's just another way to get to the same thing. This does not apply to each field. It applies to the form as a whole. And if I do that, you can see it's saved my 14. Okay, that's just a different way to get there. Okay, so now let's save our form again. And now let's do another print, and we're going to not print a sample. We're going to put it in a PDF file again. And this time I'm going to select the new file that I created, this one for video instead of that one. And when I click open, we're going to say yes, begin with the first record in the file. And I'm going to call it the same thing, except I'm going to add copies to the end of my PDF name. Click Save here. And it should be creating that file and put it in the same folder that we were looking at before. And you can see that here using Windows Explorer again. Here's the file that we just created. And what you'll see now is you'll see several copies. Move something over here just a little bit. We're going to see 5 copies of this one. So as we scroll down, we'll see more copies of the American history. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and the next one should be constitutional law, and we should have 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. So we call that feature the number of copies field. Okay. And that is the conclusion of today's video. That is how to set up some basic fields, data merge fields. If you want to know more about some of the other features that you can see on the properties data merge tab, if you want to know something about these other features, you can use the Concord manual. It does describe what all of these things do in detail. So that concludes our video for today. Thank you for watching, and there are a number of other videos under DataBlocks LLC on the YouTube website. Thank you.